Good evening, everyone. On behalf of the team Calcutta Comparatists 1919, I take this privilege to warmly welcome you again to the 101st lecture of the lecture series on this platform. Calcutta Comparatists 1919, as you know, is an independent forum for research scholars of humanities and social sciences. It carries the legacy of the academic study of Indian languages and literature, envisioned by Sir Ashutosh Mukherjee and introduced in 1919 at the University of Calcutta. Later in 2005, a new department was established under the leadership of Professor Vishwanath Rai, which continues to carry on with the research in Indian languages. We took inspiration from this history and we created this platform for sharing research interests and ideas. And currently, for last 1 year, we are organizing online lectures on various interdisciplinary topics to be delivered by academicians and distinguished research scholars of different fields. And I am very glad that today we have Professor Nigamananda Das from Nagaland University. And now I will introduce briefly Professor Nigamananda Das. Professor Nigamananda Das is currently Professor of English and Dean of School of Humanities and Education, Nagaland University. His research explores the myriad ways in which ecology, ecotopia, and ecocracy is viewed and practiced in India. Along with it, he has special interest in poetry of Northeast India and also the poetry of Jayanta Mahapatra and multi-ethnic poetry, etc. His research interest includes Commonwealth literature, Northeast Indian writing in English, ELT, comparative literature, eco-criticism, literary theory, and many more. He is widely published, and some of his articles have been already featured in the Journal of National and International Repute. He has also received several awards and honors in his entire teaching career. He is the recipient of prestigious UGC Teacher Fellowship for his doctoral research. Also, he has received Associated Fellowship of Indian Institute of Advanced Studies, Shimla, and received financial assistance for publication and purchase of books in English language for the book Jhumpa Lahiri, Critical Perspectives. On behalf of the team Calcutta Comparatists 1919, I am really glad and honored to have him today with us, and I welcome him in today's lecture. And for your kind information, Professor Das will be speaking on today on the North tribal eco ethics in Northeast Indian fiction. Professor, you may begin now, and it's the virtual stage is all yours. Over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Pratim Das, and then thank you, Calcutta Comparative 1919. So I will begin now. Actually, I have been working on this Northeast literature for more than 2 decades, and then this Northeast Indian writing in English. So we call this Indian multi-ethnic literature because the Northeast is an anthropological museum, and we have 145 tribes here, out of which 78 tribes have a population more than 5,000. So here, this literature, actually, today my topic will be tribal ecoethics. So on this topic, actually, in the year 1984, Birendra Kumar Bhattacharya, an Assamese writer, the first Jnanpith recipient from Northeast, he wrote one novel, Yarwingam, in Assamese, and in the same year, he just translated it into English. And then the next year, he published it in the title of Love in the Time of Insurgency. And there he talked about actually this is the Tangkhul Naga tribe and their cultural, ethical, and eco-ethical tradition. But as he is a non-tribal writer, so he is the first person to just write on tribal ecoethics, and then the brewing insurgency there. It is in these tribal areas, there are so many insurgent groups demanding for sovereignty and their rights, and there are a lot of difficulties arising out of that. So thereafter, in the 21st century, the first novelist from Nagaland, in English, Eastrin Kire, she was at that time known as Eastrin Ralu. So she published a novel, A Naga Village Remembered, which is also an eco-ethical fiction. And then from Arunachal, Mamang Dai also published in 2005 this The Legends of Pensam. So there are authors from Mizoram, Meghalaya, but say within the time period, so we'll just make some references to them, but we'll deal mostly on the fiction of these two writers. Actually, there are novels I mentioned. This is A Naga Village Remembered, and then When a River Sleeps of Istrinkire, and then Mamang Daich. This is The Legends of Pensam and The Black Hill. These four novels, actually, these are fact fictions. Fact fictions in the sense that they did some research in history, because the eco-ethical tradition in the tribal areas of Northeast are the traditions are lost in oblivion. So they made some research in history, and from history they have taken data, and the characters are all fictitious. So that way, this is these four novels, we can call them as a fact fictions or factions. So actually they are talking about the ecoethics in the tribal tradition. Ecoethic does not only mean that the present ecological disasters because of the colonial incursions and the colonial masters came here, exploited the land, the nature, the environment, and thereby there are a lot of ecological disasters here. If we go back to the history, actually in the ancient times, this ecological disaster has a roots in the ancient times. In Israel, initially, there was an animist tradition. Afterwards, it was replaced by the monotheism. And then if we go back to the Greek and Roman Empire, we'll find the root of this ecological disaster lie there. Actually, we'll see in the Roman tradition, they were considering nature as a low kind of creation, and as if they have just occupied the nature, that this is their property and they can exploit this. Thereafter, in the Christian tradition, it became rampant, that exploitation of nature. We'll see God is Green. Ian Bradley, in his book God is Green, has mentioned that Christianity is the most anthropocentric religion. We are not blaming any religion. I'm mentioning Ian Bradley's statement in his book, The God is Green. There he mentions that because of this, Christianity is a new religion, and wherever the colonizing, these European colonizers went, with them the missionaries went, and this is how they just modernized, they expanded their empire, and everywhere they just created roads. And then this in the northeastern part, we'll see in the Legends of Pensam, this Mamang Dai has mentioned how the hills were leveled by the bulldozers, the trees were cut, the roads were made, and the course of rivers, streams were changed. So these changes were made in the virgin nature, in the bosom of virgin nature. These changes, these operations were done, and because of that, there is a great ecological disaster. And we are not only in the present day world, we are living in a world of wastes. You see, way back 1 century back, when Eliot wrote The Wasteland, there see he mentioned this Indian tradition, and the last line, Santi, Santi, Santi. So our Upanishadic, our Vedic tradition, where there is no trace of, no proof of just oppressing nature. We live with nature, we obey nature, and in the tribal tradition, it is there. In the tribal tradition, they are noble savage, no doubt. They are the laboratories of ecoethics. Though they are noble savages, they are the laboratories of ecoethics, because we find in the tribal tradition, they live in the bosom of nature. They get their needs from nature, but they don't exploit nature the way it has been exploited by the colonial masters. The hills have been leveled and the green hills have become brown now. So, because of this, both these writers, even now new novels are coming up, because they are everything the ecological tradition, ecological or this ecoethical tradition, it doesn't mean only the exploitation of nature, and because of that, to just control it, we need an ethic, we need an ecoethic, and that was there in place, but it is forgotten now. But it is there already. But these writers, say for example, this Mamangda, in her book The Black Hill, the time period is 1847 to 1855. This is history. That Father Nicholas Crick, a French missionary, he landed in Arunachal in the year 1847. He came from Guwahati he came to Arunachal, and then he was murdered. He was murdered there, and then there is the story. But in course of this historical story, she mentions how there was a tradition in Arunachal and even other tribal areas of Northeast, that they were all the time say following this animist tradition. That in Mamang Dai's poem, she writes in poem, though she is a fictionist, we left tall trees standing, we left racing with leopards of morning. When she says like that, we left tall trees standing. But there in the legends of Pensam, she mentions that these trees, which are energy of strength, which are the symbols of strength, which stand for energy, so they are all caught. Because they are caught, so there is now crisis in Arunachal, because the green hills are becoming brown now. So she mentions there that there was a tradition, because before the government system came, in the democracies, in the present day democracies, whatever facilities are there, it was not there in the tribal world. There are tribal chieftains, they are just. If somebody comes to their compound, they are safe. And people were bowing down before them, because they know how to honor, and they are giving justice. They look at the sun, they remember their eulogize their spirits, and they distribute. They make a fair distribution of the harvest. So they were doing all those things at that time. So because of that, people were honoring them. But that system is now no more in place in the tribal world. So she mentions there that there was a tradition in the tribal world, that in the spirit animist world, that they were afraid of that. The idea of evil, whatever is mentioned there, because they are talking about a lot of spirits and evils. Actually, the spirits were not a symbol of evils, but they were afraid of that. Unless they appease the spirits, then they will face difficulties. So, in legends of Pensam, there is a tradition that the fictionist has divided their tradition, that how they deal with the spirits, they appease the spirits, and the type of spirits. So those have been categorized, and then there also it is mentioned that because the tall trees were cut, our ancestors' spirits were living in the tall trees. And when the trees fell, they also fell with them. And they cursed us and left. They have no place now. So that is why we are in disaster. So this is their belief. The tribal faith, it is there, that because there are tall trees were cut and their ancestors were living there, that was their abodes. So now with the falling of tall trees, their ancestors have left, cursing them. So now they are saying that we need courage. Because of the change, we need courage to stand in front of the changes. So we see that the ancient tradition is mentioned there, in the Adi, because she belongs to Adi tribal community, and in the Adi tribal faith, the origin of the earth, that how the creation, the whole cosmos was created and how it continued. It is mentioned that in the beginning there was only nothingness. In Adi word it is called Keum. So there was nothingness, and there was no darkness, no light, no color, no shape, no movement, nothing. And out of that Keum, which was there in the remotest past, out of that, so all now the present system of the cosmos was just created, and it was the place where no answer was received from where. No answer was received, and there was the stillness, and from there a flicker of light was just created. And out of that, the whole cosmos came into being. Then see just the type of evils, because there is a necessity to understand the spirits of the evils. They call it evil, but by appeasing the evil, they will get the good. That was their belief. So that is why these evils, the types of evils which are just categorized in legends of Pensam. Pensam, the Adi term means in betweenness, that their past time and the present time, within this there is the gap. So that gap is being just mapped. So the gap has been bridged through all this faith, which is lost in oblivion. So through just research, the fictionist has just retrieved all those old knowledge. So this is among the evils. The first category is supernatural evil, and this supernatural evil can be categorized into four parts, four types. The first type is a water serpent. Its name is Biribik, and the person who just sees it, Biribik, if you see, that is narrated there, then you will fall sick, and that you will die in that wasting sickness, because it gives you a vision, a frightful vision, and that will just make you die in the wasting illness. Then the second type of evil is Mittimili. This is a group of supernatural beings, and these Mittimili, they just gave to the mankind a kind of a powder, just like yeast powder, and if some fruits, roots, rice ground, after grinding it is mixed with that, and some cakes are made. So those are called sea cakes, and only the hunters can take those cakes, others cannot. So if others take it, it becomes an evil. And for hunters also, just before hunting, they will have to take. So this is in their tradition, that they believe that if they take, then if they remain in their proper right action, because they say if the action is pure, then it will be right. Then they will be successful in hunting, they will be inspired for going for hunting, or else they will be in trouble. The next type is Dimitayang. This is Dimitayang also is a lone water spirit. It just stores the lake waters, and if it catches somebody by accident, if it catches somebody, then it will make the person die, But generally, the Adich, during the winter season, when the mountains become covered with snow, so they go to the remote mountains for collecting some roots, some poisonous roots and some herbal roots. And there, after collecting it, they just, with folded hands, they pray to all the directions they move and pray to the spirit. This is what we call Dimitang spirit, to just appease it, so that while they will be just returning, the spirit will not disturb them. But in spite of all such prayers, once also this spirit disturbed one group of Adis, those who went in went for this collecting these roots and herbs from the snowy mountains. Then the fourth type is a donkey. It is a fabulous vessel, and it belongs to, so all these types, there are within them lies some spirit, and if those spirits are not appeased, so they create difficulty to the tribe. So that was in the ancient tradition it was there, and all the tribes, they are just afraid of their all these spirits, and through just paying their respect to the spirit, by pacifying them, by appeasing them, they are living in proper spirit without any harm in the nature, and thereby also they didn't do any harm to the nature. They are living in the nature, but they are doing the minimum requirements, their own requirements they are getting, but without just ambitiously creating disaster in the bosom of nature, the way we have just leveled the hills, created roads. So all these things, that is why road is a symbol. The outsider of a symbol of evil. The road is a symbol of evil for them. That has been mentioned there. And this donkey, it is a fabulous vessel. It belongs to one Lotang family. And so what happened? The family disappeared. Family disappeared very mysteriously. It disappeared. With the disappearance of this vessel, it was there. So one day the family found that there are some say moss on it. They cleaned it. After that, after they cleaned it, they found that some bamboo leaves gathering within it. Then they found that it turned into two pieces. And after it turned into two pieces, it disappeared. And with the disappearance of this vessel, the Lotang family also disappeared. So this is a mystery. This is also considered to be a kind of a kind of evil. And there is a necessity for each evil. There is a necessity of the process of appeasing. Unless we appease them, then there will be difficulty, and the concerned tribe cannot just continue to live there. Then this physical evils is another type. The other four, the previous four are supernatural evils, and the physical evils are like that. This is hunting accidents, snakes, and then several other things like wind, river, treacherous paths, trees. These are also symbols of evils, because in this ancient Arunachal ecology, or in the nature, in the hilly region, so these trees, the paths, these are all mysterious. So, and it was all occupied by the spirits. So it is said that in each and every elements of these are called physical evils. So there was a spirit living. That is why they were respectful to all these elements, to the trees, to the rivers, to the paths, and to all other things, even to the snakes, to all these. They are not killing snakes, because if they kill a python, then the python spirit will trouble them. So there are like that such belief. Then the hunting accidents, that was also a kind of a mystery for them. Hunting accident, the hunters were going for say hunting, and they are mysteriously dying. And when their bodies were found, that in their pocket some small fish will be available, or some insect will be available, and they are considering these fish or insects are the symbols of evils that created their death. So that was considered as a hunting accident. So that was also a kind of this in kind of evil. Then the Python spirit I already mentioned that once it happened that in a family the child of the father suffered from some kind of incurable disease. Even after all kinds of treatments, say treatment by the local tribal doctor or the other doctors, so so many medicines were given, but there is no cure. So finally, one priest, Miri, in their tradition, one Miri or priest, told that there is one spirit which is troubling this child. And then they arranged a kind of worshipping for appeasing the spirit. And the Miri, at the time of worship, the Miri just gets inspired and tells the future, past, can predict all those things. So Miri exactly told that the father of this child killed one python, and the python spirit is troubling this child. So exactly, the father really was working in a sawmill, and there down the in between the logs, one python was there, and the elephant which was just drawing the log could sense it and was not going near that. So he went and with his gun he killed the python, and thereafter the python spirit took revenge on the child. Then the tiger spirit or fire spirit, the same thing, that if somebody's house is burnt, then they say that it is the fire spirit or the tiger spirit. And as a rule, they just ask the person to leave the village and live at one end of the village, and nobody goes and meets and eats with that person. The next is CA, that already I have mentioned, that in the physical supernatural spirit, CA is that CA cake, which creates this hunting accident. Then there are also black movements, some movements which create difficulties, that all of a which creates psychopathic behavior in people. That is called black movements. So that because of some spirits, that all of a sudden a person will just come and with his sword will kill his children and chase his wife to kill in one moment of the day. So, and thereafter when people will gather, so he will come to consciousness and realize that one spirit troubled his soul, and because of that he did it. So those are called the black moments. And there are also so many, say in the human behavior, if we make some mistakes, that one has to be very much careful. That in the tribal world, they are so cautious and careful that they deliberately they don't do. It was in the present day have changed, but in the ancient world, they are so careful and cautious, knowingly or unknowingly, they are not doing any wrong. If they do any wrong, so those wrongs are called symbolic evils. And then there are also ecological evils like this wind, water, road, thieves, outsiders. So they have been creating problems. So those have been called ecological evils. There are also some mysterious and magical evils. For example, they consider forest like an animal. And then for days, that sometimes for a day, at a stretch for 62 days there will be rain without stop. And then there are some wild fruits, and some trees are there, just eggplant tree. From a plant it becomes a tree, and if accidentally somebody comes under it, then the man will go mad, and so it is occupied by some spirit. So these are the beliefs in spirits in which have been just depicted in legends of Pensang. In the same way, in the Black Hill also, the hills have spirits, the trees have spirits, the streams have spirits, and even the stones have a stone swallows one girl. And if a twin is born, that is also evil. So for that one has to perform some ritual. Laughing loudly, talking loudly, because in the tribal world, they maintain enough humility. their tradition. They respect the seniors. So that is their tradition. This is also ecoethics. Ecological doesn't mean only the environmental or nature, because in the say Buddhist tradition, whatever is there outside the world, the same thing is there within us. So that is why in the Buddhist tradition there is a comparison of a human body, which is the part of the cosmos, the environment. So the environment outside, the similar kind of similar environment is there inside us. That is why when we talk about the ecoethics, so we must think that it is the human nature. It is the human nature, the virtues or vices in us. Because you see, the disaster, the ecological disaster or environmental disaster, which we are just creating, it is our nature. If we can control ourselves, so this is, we know there is one, the animist tradition, the spirits everywhere living, the godly spirits living everywhere. But we need to understand the deep ecology which is there also in the tribal tradition, just to realize the intrinsic value of nature. That why should we, because the nature is created for us, we are getting everything from the nature. So why should we create a chaos in it? That we are creating a waste colonialism. That a colonialism of a colony of waste, we are just creating it. And you just see these ecocidal effects. We have created everything. We have created a poison for us. So that was not there in the tribal tradition. So which many things are lost in oblivion, but whatever they are able to just recollect or collect from the popular tradition and from the history. So those have been recorded in both the novels. In Black Hill actually, Father Creek, the Nicholas Father Nicholas Creek, the French missionary, he came to Arunachal. Actually, his intention was there to go to Tibet, but he was killed in spite of all his contribution in serving people, because he wanted to colonize. So people didn't like him. He came with the message of a religion which is responsible for all these ecological disasters, because this exploitation of nature, it was not there. Because in our even in the Indian tradition also, we just wanted peace in everything. Apa Shanti, Banaspata Shanti, Vasudeva Shanti, Shanti in everything. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. So we wanted peace in everything. That is why just see A. Palmer in his book, 50 key environmental thinkers of the world. So he has taken 4 people from India, and the very first key environmental thinker of the world is Lord Buddha. Then Mahatma Gandhi, Rabindranath Tagore, and Vandana Shiva. These are the 4 people taken from India. That India from beginning had a tradition of maintaining equilibrium in nature. There should not be that, because we are getting everything from nature, so we should not do any harm to nature. And then this animal world also, in the tribal tradition, there is a faith, because we see in the northeast, in Arunachal, in Nagaland, in Meghalaya, in maximum all these tribal dominated areas, fully tribal states, their tiger is considered a brother tiger. And in Nagaland there is also a tradition of were tiger. Were tiger means a man can just take the spirit of tiger. He can convert himself to a tiger. That is called tiger spirit, and that tiger is called were tiger. And if in case the were tiger is killed, then the man dies. So the man can convert himself to a tiger. There is a tradition here. And then in the folk tale, actually in the folk tradition is there I mentioned Mamangda is telling, we left tall trees standing, we left racing with leopards of morning. He says that in the Adi tribal tradition, that they were running races, racing with the leopards in the morning. They are doing that. So they didn't have any fear for the tigers those days. So they are all together. And then they say that though animal killing is a tradition here in the tribal tradition, but what we feel, because still on animal studies, on animal rights researches are going on. We feel those days in earliest days because they are living together. So there is no such tradition that killing tiger or because they are considering tiger a brother. But say in Angami tradition, it's there because after killing a tiger, they just pierce the body of a tiger. That there is a celebration, the ritual. They pierce the body of a tiger with spears. The youth come and do. So that is there a Naga village. Remember that is narrated there. So in both the narratives, fact fictions of Arunachal. So there is a tradition of the spirit world that in each and everything, every element of nature, a spirit lives. That is why the tribe, every tribe is respectful to all the elements of nature, so they don't do harm and they live carefully with a lot of respect to them. Then in a Naga village, remembered, which is also a historical novel. So there, actually, it is history. It is a real history that it created havoc in the British Empire in the 19th century, because the first deputy commissioner of Kohima, Mr. Damant, was killed in Kurnama village. The villagers, Kurnama villagers, they were resisting the British rule there in that village, and they didn't allow. And that was the first time in the history of a British Empire that a particular village, only 500 people, they challenged the British rule here and they defeated. They defeated. Of course, afterwards they were outnumbered by the British soldiers and they accepted defeat means they are not defeated, but they seized the village for 3 months. Their children, their women, so they had to suffer. So that is why they had to surrender. And in surrender, in that particular say novel also, it is mentioned. So different types of these celebrations, festivals, and also the same the days, some Gena days, some no work days, one has to celebrate. And there are so many spirits also. So many spirits that there is a spirit which is the guardian of wildlife, and some rivers are there which are just occupied by, inhabited by so many spirits, and unless they are appeased, they do harm to humans. So there are a lot of traditions, and in the same spirit tradition there in a Naga village remembered. And then there also this is the no work day, which is called Gena day. That means they celebrate some days. Celebration with celebration of festival, the celebration of some days on which they don't do any work. That is a taboo to do work on such days, because they know that if they do the work on such days, so there will be some say harm to them. That means they will lose the crop, and there will be some accident in the family. So these are their beliefs, and those are also experimented by them. And also there is when a river slips, there Eastern Kire say writes about a particular stone. She, in the same novel, she mentions stone is not for worship, but you will find in the Arunachal tradition, stone in hills there are spirits, so there are elements of worship. But here also there are some stones which have a magic power. But she mentions in that particular novel, stone is not for worship, but she talks about a stone that is called heart stone, which has a miraculous power, miraculous spiritual power. So if somebody possesses that stone, he can achieve wealth, beautiful women, can get cattle, she can do that. But that is not for that purpose. Through that, by possessing that particular stone, that there is one sleeping river, one has to go, and that sleeping river is guarded by mischievous women, and by demons. So one has to go and dive into the river when the river will just flood, and at one particular time the river will come flooding, So one has to dive into it and blindly choose the stone and come out with the stone. But it is not easy, because to enter into that area and to come out of that area, though the area is guarded by mischievous women, those are spirit women, and they will come with their weapon to kill the person. But one has to do that. And Villiers, the protagonist of that particular novel, so this is also a fact fiction. Actually, the characters are fictitious, but the story is fact. Just like a historical stories, like a Naga village remembered, where the British colony was just challenged, and the first deputy commissioner, first collector of Kohima was just killed. First collector in the British regime was just killed by that particular villager. There are only 500 families, 500 houses, and 500 warriors in that particular village, but they challenged the British army of 3,600. They challenged and they killed most of them. Even the first deputy commissioner, he carried some 70, 80 people with them, some 65 soldiers and then some other guards, 21 guards. But except two, all were killed. All were killed by the villagers, and the deputy commissioner was also killed. That is a historical novel. In the course of giving the history of resisting the British colonial power, there the whole tradition, the tribal tradition, the ecoethical tradition, and the dense hills, which the soldiers couldn't enter, everything have been just narrated there. So there this heart stone, that particular stone, magical stone, so that gives some spiritual power to the person who just achieves it, that the spiritual realization, to just understand the situation, understand the life, understand the people better. But through that stone also, if somebody wants to just achieve wealth, achieve cattle or a good woman, that also they can achieve. So that and there in that particular novel, this chief protagonist, the hero Villiers, says, the forest is my wife. You just see, the forest is, they are so close to the nature. The forest is my wife, and he gives reason, because the forest gives me food, the forest gives me sanctuary, so the forest is my wife. So this is a concept that he develops. We say forest as a part of nature is our mother, but he says that the forest is our wife. So he says that like that. So say, and then about the taboos also, it is mentioned there that these taboos or the grenades, that there is one line: if you break a taboo, you will break yourself. So in the tribal tradition, if there are some no work days, some prohibited days, some prohibited places, some prohibited activities, and if we do it, so in spite of guarding the nature, that it is not to be destroyed or exploited, there is also a tradition that we have to guard our behavior. That in the Angami tradition, so the tribals are very humble, they respect their seniors, that is there. And then another thing also, this there is mentioned, this heart stone, it helps only those who have been initiated. In the tribal tradition also, like in the mainland, we have a tradition of initiation. So in the Brahmin families, we pour our ears and we put some earring, and then we put this sacred thread. So they have also that kind of a tradition, that is what we call initiation, that from that day a kind of a training begins. So they have training houses called murungs. There they learn all the virtues of life, how to grow and how to behave and how to take responsibility of the elders, responsibility of the village, responsibility of the seniors in the family. So that is also taught them, that they take training from murungs. So that is there. So in both the tradition, in the similar thing also, Virendra Kumar Bhattacharya, who first wrote this, initiated this tradition of ecoethics. He was writing about Tangkul Naga, and how because of that, at that time, this Reverend Pettigrew Pettigrew came there and he started this preaching Christianity, and that was the new religion was opposed. In the same way also in a Naga village, remember, in Kurnama village, this coming up a new religion. When Christianity came, so it was opposed. They didn't allow, and the first converts were just ostracized from the village. Those who first converted. So that, and then thereafter they initiated a tradition just to convince the people that their God is the same as our God. So in the Angami tradition, the birth spirit his name is Kepenipu. So sky is our father, earth mother. We respect Kepenipu. So this is how they chant their chantings, the sacred chantings when they go for. If they face some difficulties, they utter the name of Kepenipu. Kepenipu is with us. Kepenipu means the birth spirit, the birth god is with us, and it will protect us. And if they utter the god's name Kepenipu several times, there will be no danger. They will, all the dangers will go away from them. So that was the tradition that was there in the Angami tradition, and in both this tribal tradition, in almost all the tribal tradition, say Tangkul Nagas or Manipuri Nagas. So we see clearly here there is one Tangkul Naga tradition in Birendra Kumar Bhattacharya's Love in the Time of Insurgency, in that particular novel, and then this both the novels of this Istri Nikire, the Naga village remembered when the river sleeps, and then that is in Naga tradition, and then in the Arunachal tradition of Adi tribal tradition, where this in Legends of Pensam, and actually in the Black Hill, that is Adi, Abor, so Misimi, all three different tribes together. So they are there because Father Nicholas Creek was making a trip into Tibet through their land. And then so everywhere it's there, but there are some differences. Say tiger is a brother everywhere. In Arunachal it's there, in Nagaland it's there, in Meghalaya also it's there. Actually Meghalaya also some novels are coming up recently. This Kinphang Nongkiri's funeral nights, the same religious tradition, eco-ethical tradition, that how the nature to be protected, environment to be protected from exploitation, and the humans also strengthen their moral attributes, their attributes, that so that will not make them. They will be careful. They will careful not to exploit the nature. And this exploitation of nature, the tradition came from Europe, not from us. In Indian tradition, in tribal or non-tribal, because in our Vedic tradition it was not there. Even in Indian tribal tradition it was not there. The tribal tradition was very honest, excessively honest, and say in a nutshell only, just we had to just narrate all these things. And actually whatever the, you see, the electronic surveillance, the police, the prison, and all the system in the modern democracies which are there was a better system there in the tribal world, because in the ancient Greek and in the Greek tradition, in the Greek empire, there was no rule for no punishment as imprisonment. Even in the Roman empire, there was no system of income tax. So there are some systems, but this exploiting nature was their tradition, because Romans, they thought as if they have occupied the nature, and it is a matter of, it is an element, an object to be exploited, and that sense of exploitation through Christianity to came to the modern world, and Christianity as a modern religion. That Ian Bradley in God is Green, in that book God is Green, Ian Bradley, he has written that world's most anthropocentric religion is Christianity, and because of that, we are not blaming it. See, the survey made by the researchers, and they have done that, and so that is what is mentioned. And so this in the tribal tradition, when we talk about ecoethics, Of course, we have taken the fiction, which are the novels which have been chosen. Those are fact fictions. Those are historical fictions. So there is a strong tradition, and this ecoethics, we can they have two dimensions. First thing is that the nature, the environment, the nature surrounding us should not be exploited the way it has been. It should remain virgin. We get all our necessities from there. So there is no necessity to just exploit it the way we have just leveled the hills, created a road, and have industries, so many things. And of course, in the northeast, much is not done, but whatever is done, the virginity of the nature, the pristinity has lost, and that has been say clearly delineated in both the novels of Eastern Kire. But say in Nagaland, they are not in the novels, so there is not much about that the nature has been devastated. There is not much about. They are mentioning about that how say there are miracles, mysterious elements in the nature, and in the tribal world there is a necessity of appeasing the spirits. Unless we appease the spirits, it will be difficult for us to live. So thank you, because the 45 minutes time they gave me. So I finished, and I am now ready for the questions.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you for shedding a light on the ecoethics and the tribal ecoethics aspect as this maddening race of modernization and urbanization in the present time, also like creating a toll on the natural world. And I think in this context, this discussion has very relevance, its own relevance. And since your talk like helps us to understand that how environmental crisis and like has posed ethical and aesthetic dilemmas, and how the creative works of Mamangdai, Tensulayo, Eastern like these texts are like sort of disseminating ecological values and traditional ecological knowledge through their writings. So it was like really enriching, and I was like, I don't have much information about this area, but I was reminded of the like the folk tales and the myths, and I was like also reading one of your articles, and there I saw that in the ancient like the Naga folk tales, there this sort of like consciousness about nature and the ecological thing was there. It like I can mention that the Ringman Naga folktale has the mention of that all living creature, including plants, could speak and understand each other. So, in order to like cut down the tree or like everything, the tribes are like used to uh, take the consent from the trees and everything. So I was like really curious if you like could enlighten us about the myth and folktale, since you have worked, I mean, on these areas. So if you can like bit more explain about how this in oral narratives or these myth and legends and everything of the Northeast Indian literature, this mention of the ecological thing or the ecoethics have been using their in their narratives. If you can shed
Okay,
some light.
okay, thank you. So this is actually, this is myth, what we understand generally in the our mainland tradition. We have a mythologies like this so many mythologies, Ramayana, Mahabharata, all those things. So single episodes, some part of it we use as a myth, but in the tribal tradition there are some folklore, some stories are there which sometimes talk about some absurd tales, but there are also some tales which tell about some logical. For example, the origin myth of Ao tribe, that near Mukokchung town there is a place, there are 6 stones. So these 6 stones they are considered that as 3 are male, 3 are female. And out of these 6 stones, that means 3 parents, 3 couples of parents. So out of that, the whole our tribe was born from the stone. It is, so this is their origin myth. And then on that, Temsula has written a poem that this is tell that how a tribe, a community of men, people will be born out of stone. But the story says like that. The myth is like that. So stone is a part of environment. So it is said that this tribe is born out of stone. Stone is so hard. But it also creates humans. So and then they consider that those days that all the tribes are there polyglots. Polyglots means they are also able to understand the language of animals and birds. That means they were so well versed in the language of birds and language of animals, the humans were able to understand that. So that was a tradition. We just believe it. And there are several other myths that the different tribes, they are born from different situations. And they are in a Galo tribe in Arunachal. They are women, they don't eat dog meat. So there is a story in the folktale why they don't eat dog meat. So for there is one answer that once in the past, one Gallo woman married one dog. So the dog is their husband, that is why they don't eat dog meat. So these are some of the myths that from the folktale, from the folk tradition. In the folktale tradition, some tales are like this. So those are considered to be myth, and they give answer for some questions. And then say for legends, legends are recent tales of some heroes that there was a head hunting tradition in Nagaland. And the head hunting, there are from different purposes, they are hunting each other, killing humans. But that was stopped. That was a little bit after British time, during when Christianity came. So that was stopped. But say there are reasons for that. So hunting heads, that are the heroes, chivalric persons, they are going killing other men. They are fighting with them, killing them, taking their head. And if one person kills 60 people, 60 heads, so he was considered that how many heads somebody has hunted. So that was his credit. That he was so much heroic, somebody has killed 100 person. So that, and then head hunting, another cause was because of revenge, because there was a rivalry among the tribes. So to take revenge also they are hunting heads. And for another purpose was their heroic activity, they are killing, that they are doing. So there are some traditions. So there are some savageries in the tribal tradition also, but they were so simple. They are savage, of course, and they are also sage. They are savage and sage both. They are honest also, simple also. So that is why there is a term used, noble savagery. That they are noble people, but they had savagery. That means with little things they are getting angry. They are very much upright. So with little things they are getting angry, and there is no compromise. They are killing people. So that was happening. So there are so many tales, but say they maintained an ethical tradition in just preserving the nature, the preserving the environment. The way now these hills have been leveled, roads have been cut, and then train lines are coming, and so many industries have come up. So these are alien things in this world. These things were not there in this particular region. So this is alien to them, and they don't like it, and that is why so they are just protesting, resisting it. And this is also ethical in the sense that they don't allow this eco-ethical tradition that the loss we have, because now the green belt is shrinking everywhere. Now the concrete jungle is coming up, and then if we don't resist it, so because of it, the repercussion, the global warming, the tsunamis, and so many changes, climate changes are coming, which we cannot just in the next decade or within a few decades, we cannot just control the world, and we cannot just live on this planet. It will be difficult for us to live. That is why here is the time now we need to just maintain some ethical tradition, that we must follow an ethic so that we will control all this and bring back the past tradition of a cool green nature so that we will just live peacefully. And then this in the tribal tradition, in the folkloric tradition, there are so many things that we need to learn. But in the novels now, recently within this last 15, 20 days, of course, Birendra Kumar Bhattacharya's novel is very old because it was written first in 1984. So it is now 35 years ago. But in the Nagaland and this Arunachal Pradesh, Meghalaya, recently this year only Kinpang Singh Nongri published his Funeral Nights, that 110-page novel. Who just talks about the Khasi tradition, the of this maintaining this green ecology, and then how they just preserve their dead, how they cremate their dead, and this is the funerals they continue for so many nights. So all those things have been just narrated, and slowly in other tribal tradition also the same ecoethical tradition is coming up, that how they are just in the past doing, but those things have become alien now, changes have come, we need to face those changes. Unless we face those changes and we just resolve it at the earliest to just control all the changes, then it will be difficult for us to just survive. Our survival will be a question. So that is why here is a necessity now. We need to be very much cautious and careful for all those things.
Absolutely, sir. I couldn't agree. I mean, I agree with all you. And like, since there's rapid spread of like consumeristic values are like spreading, I was like wondering how like the people of Northeast in this age of like electronic media or digital media, when like these medias are like propagating the attainment of sort of like material affluence is the ultimate goal of the life, and how like they are sort of thinking about these things. And like since we are like in these days, we like repeatedly got news of some sort of species extinctions, or like the some burning of some forest, and everything came to the news. So I was like really thinking that that literature and like through these writings and creative art, possibly we can sort of maintain this balance and like conserve the nature in a better way. So
Yes,
it's like, yes. Am I audible, Professor?
yes, sir, yes, sir, yes.
Yes. So I was, I've been asking you like that. Do you think this literature and this writing of the from the Northeast region can be like considered the only tool through which we can like sort of conserve this space and this maintain this balance, which you are like mentioning in your like talk? So
Yes, yes.
do you think that literature is the only element, or is there any other way throughout like through which we can possibly attain this thing and can conserve this area and this biosphere and everything and the habitats
Yes,
of
now,
this?
yeah, now some NGOs are there and they are just trying, but say the NGOs locally, their local existence and their slogans, somehow it may bring some change, but the literature is sending a message to the whole world. It is about this region, of course, but this is a message to the whole world, even other part of the world. They must also understand that how this green world, that once upon a time it was nature's paradise, and this part, particularly this northeast, is a confluence of two major biodiversities of the world. That is, you see, the Indo-Myanmar and the Himalayan. Both the biodiversity, they confluence at this point, and here there are so many medicinal herbal plants, so many precious things that in course of time, if through this ecological depletion, if everything vanishes, because we see out of 145 tribes, only 70, 80 tribes have more than 5,000 population. We just think the rest of the tribes, they have a less than 5,000 population. And 5,000 is a very small community. And their languages have become endangered. The species, the tribe have been endangered. A time may come that the 140 out of 145, if 75, that means almost half. The other half are endangered. So time will come, they will not exist. They will not exist at all. So that is why now here is the time, because Kinfang Singh in his poems also that we are 10 lakh tribe. We are 10 lakh tribe, and we are just apprehensive of our existence. So there will be problem of existence, not only the tribes, the environment, the place itself, and the tribe itself. So everything will go, and with them their culture, their tradition, everything will go. So that is why literature sends a very strong message to all, not only the northeasterners, but to the whole world, that one has to be careful that even if in the past, say in the ancient time or in the medieval times, when there was no such threat to nature, at that time, if peacefully people were able to manage to live within this nature, with nature's plenty, then what is the wrong with now? The expansion, the ambitious expansions, the concrete jungles, the urbanizations, the stretch of urban areas, we are just increasing. The expansions we are doing. So why that cannot be just fruitfully managed? That we can just create a green urban areas. We can create ecotopias, that ecological utopias, and that green worlds we can just create in American cities. So they are just doing. So our urban areas, even in the ancient time when Huyen Sang came, he just wrote about Kamrup, the Guwahati region. That he wrote in his report that it was so green. There are so many jackfruit. He counted the jackfruit trees, the betel nut leaves, the coconut trees, the plantain trees, all those trees. He just calculated, and he has given one statistics of that. So if that time the urban areas were so green, then why can't we create a green urban areas, create ecotopias, so that everybody will benefit that from that. So these eco-ethical writings, the ecological narratives or eco-narratives, are sending strong message to the world, to everybody concerned, to be very much careful to maintain green surrounding, green environment, so that everybody can be peacefully living. So earlier times we had also cottage industries, which are green. We are maintaining that. In the same way, we can just convert our heavy industries into small units of small industries and manage with heavy production, but with proper maintenance of greenery. So that can be possible.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. If you permit, we have two questions in the chat box. I can take them up.
Yes. Okay, no
Uh,
problem.
okay, the question is from Shampayan Chakraborty. Let me share. Thank you, sir, for this wonderful session. In the case of outsider, there are two kind of outsider. One is outsider from different land, and outsider from different clan. In some cases, both the outsider are evils to the people and to the communities. Can you put some light on this issue by mentioning some text? I think
Yeah.
this is the. Yes,
Yes.
please.
Actually, yeah, the outsider, yeah, both are possible, but there, what is mentioned in legends, is in the legends of Pensam. What is meant outsider means the people from outside the state. They mean that, and they even outside the state means they mean colonizer, the Britishers, the colonizer. And when the colonizers, Britishers came, they also brought their agents. So thereby they are calling them outside, or they are calling them thieves also, and they brought diseases also. Thus, the tribes, the Adi tribe, they say that in our tribal world we didn't have any disease. They came with the disease. Now new diseases have been coming. So they mean that way. So the outsider, the clan outsider, that is now happening now, that these inter-clan marriages are taking place, but they are very much restricted. In that time, it was not there. They are not. You see, of course, in the same clan, in the tribal world, marriages were not allowed. but there should be a other clan, because the marrying from the same clan is a crime. But it is a clan is not mentioned. By outsider they mean the say they use one term miglun. From outsider they use one term, this miglun. So by outsider they mean colonizer. And also they many Britishers, those who went there for surveying, even they are surveying the course of Brahmaputra river, so they were killed by the tribes because of the misunderstanding in the communication gap. So some were killed, and punitive actions also are taken by the government. That happened also. So those are also mentioned. And also those who were killed, the government also asked them to build this memorial stone for them. The villagers were asked. That was also done. So those are also mentioned in the novel. So these are taken from the history.
Thank you, Professor. Shampan have another question here. Uh, is talking about that in the case of many communities, they are Christian, but the community still practice their own pagan beliefs. Most of them are natural resources like Doni Polo. There are many religions of the communities. Can you please bring light in these religions by mentioning some texts?
Yes. Actually, it's there, because this is, now there is a question. Earlier we are talking about tribal religion. Of course, this animism, the tribal religion is there. So now recently one work has started, research work has started now. They are saying that tribes, they don't have any religion. Religion means is actually their way of living. That was the thing. But they are now researching on tribe and religion. That is the tribes. They from time to time they follow. This is Doni follow. They are Christians, of course, but they follow their own local tradition. In Nagaland also, so they are Christians. But you see, they are Christians means they are Naga Christians. They are not the real Christians, because in they have translated the Bible to the Naga language, and they have in place of a God, in where in the Bible the God is mentioned. So they have mentioned their God name Kepenifu in Angami churches, Baptist churches, Catholic churches. The Bible has been translated, and they have used the word Kepenifu. Kepenifu is the name of their God, the birth spirit, the God who is responsible for giving birth to the humanity. So both the tradition are coexisting. So though they are Christians now, they have converted to Christianity, but they have not left their practices. Some animist practices are also continuing. Even in the say appeasing the spirits, the rituals they do, say they the same in the villages also. They suspect that there is something wrong with the child. So through rituals they cure, and they are true, because they are in the that legends of Pensam. It is mentioned there that the person really killed one python, and then the python spirit, the Miri, the priest told that this child is suffering. It's because of the spirit, python spirit. The python spirit is taking revenge on it. So that is why the medicine, the treatment, nothing is working. And then when he just was performing the rituals, so they perform the ritual, they sing, they dance, they get inspired. The priest, after performing the ritual, gets so much inspired. He sings, he dances, he tells the past, he tells the future. So that is he is able, and they tell the truth. It is a belief in the tribal tradition. The Nibu or the Miri, the priest, he tells the truth. That is why, though they have converted the religion, so they have become Christian. So they have not left their animist tradition. So now they are living in both religious worlds. But that this new religion, Christianity, has radically changed their life. That radically changed their life. That they are living a modern style of life, the European, this is the life, they are now the cosmopolitan life. All those things, the cultural changes have come. So their own traditional life, the way they are living, the dress they are using, the food they are using. So there have been so many changes, and that is the thing. Now they are nostalgic about that. They are they have now whatever they are the forefather, because it is so many generations now. Not only that, because in 19th century in Nagaland, the Nagaland 19th century it started, even Arunachal also. But Arunachal also, the Christianity has not covered the whole state. It's some people are still there also. In Nagaland also some people, but Nagaland 99% people are Christian. But Arunachal, it will be less than that. The process is still continuing. Some tribes in some remote areas also, Christianity has not reached there. It's like this. Anything
Thank you,
else?
Professor. We don't have many more questions actually. We have some comments, but one is from Van himself. Uh, he's like, I think he's mentioning of some sort of text or something, and
Yes. Sky is my father, earth my mother, Kepennifu. I believe in Kepennifu. I believe in Kepennifu is their God. They are saying say that this is their mantra. The chant they say in case of any difficulty, so they chant this mantra that the sky that in they chant in their language, but this is English translation. Sky is my father, earth is my mother. I believe in Kepennifu. Or they sometimes they say also in case of danger, Kepennifu stands by me. It's like this.
okay. Also, Professor, I was like, it sort of created an interested. So, I mean, since you have been mentioning that they have been sort of reinterpreting the Bible and the story of Bible. In this Bible and everything, since they are like translating in so uh, is it evident there also this I mean the ecoethics part or the part of this conversion or whatever like uh, these areas and sort of like which can create an awareness about the people who are like sort of converting into Christianity, and they can still like the pursue and like treat the habitats and the species as they used to do in the past. So in these retellings of Bibles and everything, do you get some sort of like mention or some sort of like the evidence of these sort of things?
Actually, this Bible translation and the changes, this is done by the missionaries. Actually, initially there was a lot of resistance. The village chief, the people, they are not allowing conversion. So what they did, the missionaries, they learned their local language, and actually the script here is Roman script. Say, for example, the lingua franca is in Nagamese, and all the 16 tribes in Nagaland, so they have all different languages. For example, an Ao will not understand an Angami. They have different languages. If they speak their own language, they will not understand. So the missionaries, they came and they fought, and the administrators, those who are deputy commissioners or some officers, they actually wrote the history of their tradition, their rituals, everything. They wrote the book. Even their folk songs, folk tales, they wrote first in English. They translated. Then what they did, in Roman script, when they translated the Bible to the different this Angami language, Ao language, Lotha language, Sema language, to different language, when they translated, so their respective God names in place of God, where in Bible the God term is mentioned, in place of that they introduced their terms, their tribal God names. Say Angami, in place of Angami, it's Kepennifu. So they just so that the people got attracted. They thought that this Christian, the religion and our religion similar, so that they will be more attracted to that. So this is why one P.P. Shukla, what else the Northeast India, in one book, has blamed this Christianity a lot, that the secessionism, insurgency, at the root of this missionaries are there. So they have mentioned like that, but we cannot say like that. But people have, so now those people have been ambivalent, and when maximum of them, they have been converted to Christianity, so they are just saying that we are Christians. But you see, their own traditional festivals they are celebrating. The ancient festivals which they had, the Sakrani, all the agricultural festivals, they are celebrating that. Say they have one tradition of pulling the stone on the road. Sakrani, one festival is there. That they will pull one, tie the stone, one huge stone in rope, and the people will pull it on the road. So that is their ancient festival. That they are doing now, but they are Christians. As Christians, they are not doing. As a Angami tribe, they are doing. But they have been converted to Christians. So they are ambivalent in this way. That means they have one tribal identity, and they are again taking a dual identity of a Christian. So this is how they are maintaining a dual identity. They belong to their identity as Angami tribe or our tribe, and they are also Christian. So this way they are ambivalent, they are maintaining two identities, but their ancient tales, ancient tradition was eco-ethical, and also that's there. But now they are also like Christians, they are behaving, they are going to church, they are doing that, but they are also as tribes. So in the tribal world, this kind of thing is going on. So this is also ambivalence, a kind of aspect of post-colonialism. So that is also there in the post-colonial religious world also. So we can call it, because this eco-criticism also coming under post-colonial regime.
Uh,
Yeah.
okay, thank you, Professor. Sompan is like also have some inquiries about the natural healers of the communities and like the authentic source of folk medicine, and the part he is also like mentioning the particular flora and fauna which represent particular some sort of communities. So he is
Yes,
like
yes. Yes, positively, because this is actually there is a concern now in the present generation, because you see now this is pizza, KFC, all those restaurants and facilities are coming. And the local in the newspaper I saw some elders are writing that their children now are not able to say recognize some herbs, some leaves, because some leaves are there, say they boil and eat it. Those have medicinal qualities, and they that cleans stomach, uh, and gives them energy. So there are so many kinds of things: flowers, fruits, say roots, leaves. Those things are there, and all the different tribes also they use it differently, and some are also common. That means all the tribes they also take that. That is, some they use as a green vegetable type. So now in the present day, the children, they are not able to understand that. And now some parents are also telling that in the mobile they are using such kind of a language that even they don't know some terms of their, say in the local language, there are different language. Some terms are there. For example, say bamboo baskets, cane baskets, and some furniture, some tools and implements. Their names also the children don't know in their language. So a day will come in this way, the tribal languages will be extinct, because the languages will not survive. The children are not able to know the terms, particular terms, because the common tools and implements, say bamboo baskets, say some fiber, they were preparing some kind of basket, some strings, so many say wall hangings, some different names, local names they have, but the children they don't know all those things. They are just aware of some English terms now. So now there is a rapid modernization and anglicization or a politicization, so that the terms, the local terms they don't know. The flowers, these vegetables, and the basic terms they don't know. They are all becoming ignorant. So this is a concern now, And positively, there are so many things that so many say herbs and bitter wormwood. Bitter wormwood is a leaf. Wormwood means a tree, wood, one wood. That from that wood, if some leaf or some this leaf or some small say branch of it, if somebody just holds that, will ward off the spirits. Bitter wormwood, there is a term, and there is a novel also, bitter wormwood, by Eastern Kere. So there are so many such things, and all different types, they have different terms. So that is also very much interesting. Very much interesting. In Arunachal also, this rich bioregion, that is the valleys, the this the flora fauna and the rivers, the bamboo, say forest, groves, all such things. They have distinct names, and they have a lot of importance. So such things have been highlighted in those novels, and also from day by day, the things people are forgetting, the young generation will forget, and there will be a difficulty now in future to get all the things. So that is why this is a time, the rapid change is coming, and we need to prepare to face it and solve it in a proper way, so that the future generation will not face a great trouble.
Absolutely, sir. And this is at the high time we should like more look into it. We don't have any more question for today, and so I will now conclude this session, if you permit, Professor.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes. Yes. So, on behalf of the Calcutta Comparatists team and its members, I would like to convey our hearty thanks to Professor Nigamananda Das for his excellent lecture on the topic of tribal ecoethics in the northeastern Indian fiction. Big thank you to Sir for sharing your ideas and for views on this area, and our sincere gratitude to you for responding to us and coming to our forum. And that we are really inspired and enlightened by your great words and in this area, since we don't have like much discussion about these topics right here. And thank you to all our participants on YouTube for being with us today. And here we officially conclude this session now. Good night to everyone, and good night to Professor Nigamananda Das, and happy
Good night.
Durga
Thank
Puja,
you.
and
Yeah,
Dussehra to everyone. Stay safe and enjoy this festival. Thank you,
thank
everyone.
you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.